Part 1. Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Hey, Zara. I'm good, thanks. Kind of excited for today's topic, actually. It's something people ask me about all the time.
Same here. How can I sound like a native speaker? Is probably one of the most common questions I get.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think people sometimes imagine there's some magic trick to it, right?
Exactly. Like one secret phrase or shortcut that'll just make everything click. But it's really about a lot of small things that build up over time.
Totally agree. But hey, before we dive into all of that, maybe we should tell people a bit about ourselves, just in case they're new here.
Good idea. So, I'm Zara. I grew up in London, but my family's originally from Pakistan. I started teaching English around 10 years ago, and honestly, I didn't even plan on being a teacher at first. It just sort of happened.
Haha, I know what you mean. Life has a way of surprising us. I'm Alex, by the way. I'm originally from Canada, born and raised in Toronto. I've been living abroad for the past 7 years, mostly in Europe, and I work as an English coach and pronunciation trainer.
And you're really good at it. I've seen your videos online. You break things down in such a clear, friendly way.
Thanks, Zara. I've actually watched some of your lessons too. I love how natural your approach is. You don't make English feel scary or stiff.
Aw, thank you. I try to keep it real. I know what it's like to learn a second language. I still remember the struggles with French in school. So I try to make things as practical as possible.
Same here. And that's what I hope we can do in this episode. Just have a relaxed chat and share real tips that people can actually use in their day to day speaking.
Yes, and we'll definitely talk about things like pronunciation, rhythm, vocabulary, all the stuff that helps you sound more natural, not just correct.
Right. Because sounding correct is different from sounding natural. A native speaker might break grammar rules all the time, but still sound fluent.
Exactly. It's about flow, not perfection. And we're going to get into all of that today. But first, quick question for you, Alex. Do you remember the first time someone told you, hey, you sound like a native in another language?
Ooh, good one. I do, actually. I was learning Spanish, and I ordered food in this little cafe in Madrid. The guy at the counter just casually said, your Spanish is really natural. I walked out of there like I just won a medal or something.
Haha, I love that. It's such a good feeling, right? That moment when you realize, wait, they didn't switch to English. They actually understood me.
Best feeling ever. And that's what we want our listeners to feel too. That confidence, that ease.
Totally. All right, so now that everyone knows who we are, should we get into the first big question?
Let's do it. How do you really start sounding like a native speaker?
Part 2.
All right, Zara, let's get into it. What do you think is the first thing someone should focus on if they want to sound more like a native speaker?
Honestly, listening. Like, really listening. A lot of people try to speak like a native before they've heard enough natural English. You can't copy something you haven't noticed.
Exactly. And not just listening to textbook audio or slow dialogues. I mean real conversations. Podcasts, movies, YouTube channels, street interviews, where people actually speak the way they do in real life.
Yes, I always tell my students, treat listening like a daily habit. Even 10 or 15 minutes a day can help. You start to pick up things like sentence stress, filler words, how people cut or join sounds together.
That's such a good point. It's not just what they say, it's how they say it. Like a native speaker probably won't say, I do not know. They'll say, I don't know.
Right. Or instead of, what are you doing? It becomes, what you doing? These little changes are what make English sound fluent and relaxed.
Totally. Once you hear those patterns often enough, you start to absorb them without even thinking.
Yeah, and it's not about copying an accent perfectly. You don't have to sound British or American. It's more about sounding comfortable, like you belong in the conversation.
Well said. I actually had a student once who had a strong accent from his country, but the way he used phrases, intonation, and even humor, It made him sound super fluent. People thought he was born in the US.
That's amazing. It really shows that fluency isn't about sounding like someone else. It's about being confident and smooth in your own way.
Exactly. And speaking of confidence, what would you say to someone who understands English well but feels nervous when it's time to speak?
Ooh, I've got a lot to say about that. First off, nerves are normal. Everyone feels that in the beginning. But one trick that really helps is shadowing.
Yes, I love shadowing. For anyone listening who hasn't heard of it, can you explain how it works?
Sure, basically, you listen to a short sentence from a native speaker, like in a podcast or video, and then you repeat it immediately, copying the rhythm and tone as closely as you can. Almost like you're an actor.
Right, and you don't have to understand every word at first. Just focus on matching the sound. You're training your mouth to move like a native speaker's.
Exactly. And over time, your pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence improve so much. It's like your brain and your mouth start working as a team.
And you start to sound less robotic, more natural.
Yes, because you're not just translating in your head, you're feeling the language. And that's when real progress happens.
So good. So, to summarize, the first steps are listen to real English every day, notice how people speak, and start copying those patterns through shadowing.
Yep. And don't stress about being perfect. The goal is connection, not perfection.
Love that. Should we dive into pronunciation next?
Let's do it, because that's where things start to get really interesting. Part 3. So, Alex, let's talk pronunciation. It's a big part of sounding natural, but it can also be really intimidating for learners, right?
Yeah, for sure. People often think they need to pronounce every word perfectly, but native speakers don't even do that themselves.
Exactly. In fact, we blend sounds all the time. Like instead of saying want to, we say wanna. Or going to becomes gonna.
Totally. And this kind of relaxed speech is everywhere in conversations, in music, even in movies. But if learners don't know about it, they might miss it or get confused.
Right. I've had students who say, I understand textbook English, but I get lost when real people talk. And most of the time, it's because of connected speech.
Yes, connected speech is a game changer. Words don't live alone, they connect. Like, did you eat yet becomes, did you eat yet?
Haha, yeah. Or let me help you sounds like let me help ya. It's like English turns into a whole different language when spoken fast.
And that's where pronunciation practice should focus. Not just on individual sounds like thias or r, but also on flow. How sounds link, disappear, or change depending on what comes before or after.
Exactly. I usually tell learners to pick short phrases they hear in real life and practice saying them out loud. Not just once, but a few times, focusing on the music of the sentence.
That's great advice, and honestly, recording yourself can help a lot too. It might feel weird at first, but it helps you hear what you actually sound like.
Yes, because sometimes what you think you're saying isn't what's coming out of your mouth.
Oh, totally. I remember when I was learning French, I thought I was saying this one phrase correctly for weeks. And then one day, my friend just looked at me and said, "What are you trying to say?" Turns out I'd been saying it wrong the whole time.
Ha ha ha. I've been there. But it's part of the process. The good news is, the more you practice out loud, the more natural you become. It's like training a muscle.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to exaggerate at first. If you're trying to learn the American R sound, go big. You can always dial it down later.
Right. And that goes for intonation too. How your voice goes up and down. Native speakers use tone a lot to show emotion, ask questions, or emphasize things.
Yeah, that's something many learners overlook. You could say the same sentence 5 different ways just by changing the intonation.
For example, really can sound curious, annoyed, excited, or even sarcastic, depending on how you say it.
Exactly. So, if you want to sound natural, it's not just about the words, it's about how you say them.
So true. All right, so what have we covered so far? listening, shadowing, connected speech, and now pronunciation and intonation.
Yep. And all of that leads to better rhythm and flow, which honestly is what makes someone sound fluent, even if their grammar isn't perfect.
Love that. So, next up, how about we dive into everyday expressions? The kind of casual phrases that native speakers use all the time.
Oh, yes, because that's a big part of sounding like a native, knowing what to say in real conversations.
Let's get into that next. Part 4. Okay, let's talk about expressions. I feel like this is one of the quickest ways to sound more native, just by using the kind of phrases people use every day.
Totally agree. You can have perfect grammar, but if you're always saying things like, I am not understanding, it feels a bit textbook, you know?
Yeah, like technically it's not wrong, but native speakers would probably say, I don't get it, or I'm confused.
Exactly. And that's why learning real life expressions is so important. Even simple ones like no worries, that makes sense, or I'm good, thanks. They go a long way.
I had a student once who used to say, I am liking this. And I knew right away they were thinking in another language first. So I showed them the phrase, I'm into it, and their face lit up.
Haha, I love that. I'm into it sounds so natural. Or like when people say, long time no see. That's super common among natives, but you don't really learn it in school.
Totally. And it's not just idioms or slang either. It's those little fillers too, like, kind of, actually, to be honest. Native speakers use them constantly.
Yes, like it's kind of tricky, or I'm actually not sure. It just sounds more relaxed, more conversational.
And one thing I always suggest is to collect these expressions. Like keep a notebook or use an app where you write down phrases you hear in shows or podcasts.
Ooh, I like that. It's like building your personal phrase book, and you're more likely to remember them if they come from real situations, not just a list.
Exactly. Like if you hear someone in a movie say, I'm on it, when they mean, I'll do it now, it sticks with you more than just reading it in a textbook.
For sure. And you can start using those phrases in your daily life, even if you're just talking to yourself at home.
Yes. I always tell people, practice out loud. Even if you're alone, try repeating those phrases in different tones. I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm on it. It helps you get the feel of the language.
Totally. And the best part? You don't need to memorize hundreds of expressions. Even just 10 or 15 supernatural ones can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. It's quality over quantity. And the more you hear them in context, the more naturally they'll come out when you speak.
Okay, so we've covered pronunciation, flow, and natural expressions. What do you think, Zara? Should we talk about thinking in English next?
Oh, yes, because that's one of the biggest mindset shifts that helps learners level up.
All right, let's go there next.
Part 5.
Okay, Zara, let's talk about thinking in English. I know that sounds weird to some people. Like, how do you even start thinking in a different language?
Yeah, it does sound strange at first, but it's such a powerful step. Because if you're always translating from your native language, it slows you down. And sometimes the translation just doesn't work.
Exactly. I've had students say things that are technically translated correctly, but the meaning doesn't quite land in English.
Right. Like in some languages, you might say, it goes to rain, but in English, we just say, it's going to rain. Translating word for word creates these little awkward moments.
Totally. So I always tell people the goal isn't to think faster in your native language, it's to start thinking in English, even in simple ways.
Yes, you don't have to start with full conversations in your head. Even just describing what you're doing can help. Like, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm making coffee, I'm tired today.
Exactly. It's like creating your own little narration in English. You're training your brain to link English words directly with meaning, not with translations.
And it becomes automatic with practice. I had a student who made a habit of naming objects in English around the house, like chair, mirror, kettle. It seems silly, but it really helped.
That's actually brilliant. I used to do that too when I was learning German. I'd walk around like, das ist ein Tisch, das ist ein Fenster, just naming stuff. It felt weird, but it worked.
Ha ha! Love that. It's those tiny habits that make the biggest difference. And once you start thinking in English, you don't pause as much when speaking. You sound smoother.
Yeah, and you're not stuck trying to translate a sentence mid-conversation. You just speak.
Exactly. And I think it's important to say, you don't need perfect grammar to start thinking in English. Even broken thoughts like, I go store now, are still practice.
Yes. It's not about being perfect. It's about switching your brain into English mode as often as you can.
So if you're walking to the bus stop, try thinking, okay, I'm walking now. The weather's hot. I hope I catch the bus. Super simple, but it builds fluency.
And that adds up over time. One day you'll be in a real conversation and realize you're not thinking about the words, you're just speaking.
That moment is magic. It's like, wait a second. I didn't even think about that sentence. It just came out.
That's when you know things are really starting to click.
All right, so we've talked about listening, pronunciation, flow, expressions, and now thinking in English. I feel like we've covered so many practical steps.
Definitely. But I think there's one more thing we should touch on: mindset. Like how to deal with fear, self-doubt, and feeling stuck.
Yes, because even with all the right tools, if your mindset's holding you back, progress feels so much harder.
All right then, let's dive into that next.
Part 6. All right, Alex, let's talk about mindset. I feel like this is the part people don't talk about enough when learning English.
Yeah, and honestly, it can make or break your journey. You can know all the right techniques, but if you're too scared to speak, it won't matter.
Exactly. And that fear usually comes from thinking, what if I make a mistake? Or what if they laugh at me?
Oh man, I've heard that so many times, and I always say, native speakers make mistakes too. We forget words, mix things up, say awkward stuff all the time,
Yes, the goal isn't to be perfect, it's to communicate. And if you wait until your English is flawless, you'll never speak.
right? I think a big shift happens when you stop seeing mistakes as failures and start seeing them as steps. Every time you mess up, you learn something.
Exactly. I remember once I was speaking Spanish at a cafe and accidentally asked the guy, "Can I kiss the coffee?" instead of "Can I have the coffee?" He laughed. I laughed, and I never forgot the right word after that.
Haha, that's a great example. I had a similar moment in French where I accidentally said something way too dramatic. I was trying to say I was tired and ended up saying I was dying. The guy looked horrified.
Oh no. But those moments stick with you, and they teach you more than a grammar book ever could.
For sure. And that's why confidence is key. Even if your English isn't perfect, speak anyway. Get in the habit of using it, making small mistakes, correcting, and improving.
Absolutely. And surround yourself with English whenever you can. Set your phone to English, listen to English podcasts, even follow English-speaking creators online. The more your brain sees it, the more it becomes your new normal.
Yep. And celebrate small wins. If you had a full conversation in English, even a short one, that's huge. Don't wait for someone else to tell you you're doing well. Recognize your progress.
I love that. And one last thing, be kind to yourself. Some days will feel smooth, others will feel frustrating. That's just part of learning anything new.
Totally. Language learning isn't a straight line, but if you stay consistent, stay curious, and stay brave, you'll get there.
So true. Well, I think we've covered a lot today, from listening and pronunciation to mindset and confidence.
Yeah, this was such a fun conversation. I hope everyone listening feels more motivated and less overwhelmed.
Me too. Remember, you don't have to sound exactly like a native. You just have to sound like yourself, but in English.
Well said. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now, and keep speaking.